Mm-hmm. Yeah, cue the music. What's up, guys? How's it going? Welcome back to another episode of I Am Kenny Biddle. And despite what David Couchrider would have you believe, I am the real Kenny Biddle. Boom! So, today, in this episode, we are going to have more of a variety show. So, it's not going to be just one topic. This is a viewer questions episode, which means that you guys have sent in questions, and I'm going to try to answer them to the best of my ability. And we did this twice before, really a lot of fun. I enjoyed it because it really got me going in directions of research where I probably wouldn't have gone before, just because of the questions you guys asked. So, here we are. We're going to do it again. Disclaimer. Definitely a disclaimer. I am not an expert. I am not a scientist. So, the answers that I'm giving you to your questions are my opinion. It's based on my previous knowledge and experience. It's based on the research that I was able to do. This is a lot of questions. Well, there's a couple questions in this episode, so I didn't have time to devote an entire episode to each question. Therefore, the research isn't as deep as I want it to be, but I'm going to do my best. I hope that made sense, because it didn't to me. So, I got my notes, got lots of notes. So bear with me as I struggle through them, and let's get to it. What do you say? Cool. Okay, the first question up. I'm going to give you the disclaimer right away. I am horrible with names. I butcher them. Anybody that watches the Geeks and Ghosts podcast that I do with Lou knows this. So I apologize in advance for this. The first question is from a damn monsieur. I think that's how you say it. I apologize if it's not. Feel free to send me a message with an audio clip or a video clip and, correct me. But, Dam asks, I've been out of the loop for a little bit. Has DR's quad coil portal detector become a thing? If so, how are people explaining the science behind it? Well, for everybody that follows this page, you probably should know. DR stands for David Roundtree. In my opinion, he's a total douchebag. He came up with this quad coil thing that was supposed to detect what he called portals, like wormholes. And he made a big stink about it. Lots of technical babble, pretty much, what he was spewing about it and trying to push it as a legitimate science, and because he supposedly had his PhD in physics, and he was just exploring all this, and he wrote a book, and all that shit. So, damn, and I feel funny keep saying damn, because I'm like, damn! Anyway, so it sounds like you've been out of the loop for a while, so let me bring you up to speed. No, the quad portal coil detector thing never became a thing. He tried to push it. It never became a thing because there was so much wrong with his explanations, so much wrong with his data, so much wrong with the evidence that it was just butchered by people that actually knew what they were doing with science. So, and in the time after that, he is shown to have his PhD was a fake. He bought it from a diploma mill. His military career was shown to be fake. His whole officer and all that shit, fake. And then even his American Indian heritage has been shown to be false. because he keeps changing tribes. Yeah, so he has actually fallen out of popular opinion. Not that he had a large popular opinion anyway, but he's pretty much giving up on the paranormal community because, we're douchebags and he's not, because he's the one that lied. So he's crawled into this like pseudo alien conspiracy theory kind of archaeological bullshit. Last I heard, I don't know. I don't really keep tabs on him because honestly he's a waste of time, and he's a douchebag. So I hope that answered your question. I hope I wasn't coming off as a smart ass to you. That guy is just a total douchebag, like another guy we're going to talk about in a little bit. So, next question. Alright, the next question comes from Jerry Jones. And he asks, it's my Philly accent, asks, what are your thoughts on UFOs and extraterrestrials? Wow, that's a big one too. Let's see. I guess I would really have to be ignorant to think that there is absolutely no life out there among the stars. I mean, look how much life is right here on this planet, just in the oceans, and then look at all the land and the remote areas of this planet that we don't get to, and we discover species after species almost every day. I mean, it's incredible the amount of life on just this one little planet. And when I look up in the night sky and I see billions and billions and billions of stars, there's got to be life out there somewhere. I mean, the Hubble telescope just did. They updated it, I think, this year, or not this year, 2016. They updated it they did the deep sky census, and they pulled from a whole bunch of surveys, and they upped it. I think we thought before there were about 200 billion galaxies in the observable universe, and since this deep sky census, it has been updated to 2 trillion galaxies. 2 trillion galaxies in the observable universe. That means what we can see. I mean, that's a 2 with 12 zeros behind it. That's an incredible number that I just can't wrap my head around it. And just for those that, to put it into perspective for everybody, if you're not familiar with galaxies and stars and this and that, a galaxy, I'm going to read off my notes because I'm not that smart either. Galaxy is a system of millions or billions of stars, together with gas and dust, held together by gravitational attraction. The Milky Way galaxy that we're in, that has, let's see, it's about 100,000 light years across, and it contains about 200 billion stars. Our sun is a star, so that means 200 billion of those things are in just our galaxy, and there's 2 trillion galaxies in the universe that we can see. It's amazing. So yeah, I definitely think there's life out there. I mean, I hope there is, because with all that space, if we're the only ones, that fucking sucks. I mean, seriously, all that wasted space, and we can't get to it? Ugh, shit. But what about UFOs? You asked about UFOs. I do consultant work, photography consultant work for MUFON and some other UFO chasing groups, I guess you want to call them. And so far, I haven't seen any evidence of it. I haven't seen anything that actually looked like. No, that's not the right way to say it. Every photograph and video that has been sent to me to look at has turned out to be birds, insects, hubcaps, some leaves, spots on the lens or the sensor of the camera. Nothing has actually been a spacecraft. The things that I can't identify, just because there's not enough information, have usually been like a black dot in a blue sky, or a white dot in a black sky. I mean, seriously, if you look at the screen, okay, Let me see if I can do this. All this whole screen here, and imagine it's black. And then let's see. The tip of this pen is a white dot. That's the kind of pictures I get sent sometimes. And people say, hey, this is a UFO. I caught this. It's just a white dot on a black background. That's all it is. So I haven't seen any evidence of UFOs on this planet. Also, watching Captain Disillusion. If you have never seen Captain Disillusion, look him up on YouTube. Amazing videos. The guy can deconstruct videos and show you exactly how special effects work and how a lot of these hoaxed videos get put together. It's amazing the work that he does. I love the guy. If you want to get technical, and get to the nitty gritty, UFOs kind of do exist, and we are them. I mean, besides when you look out and you see something flying in the sky and you don't know what it is. Yes, technically it's an unidentified flying object because you don't know what it is. I don't know why I'm doing this with my hands. But get back to why we are UFOs. We've sent probes out into the solar system. I mean, we have probes going to, well, Mars. Obviously, we have a bunch of probes that went there. We have Spirit and Opportunity. They're both on there chugging away. I mean, they're bringing us back data. Awesome stuff. We've had probes go to Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, what else? Titan. All of these can be considered UFOs on other planets. So, yeah, we're the aliens, I guess, so far. So I guess to sum it up, because I probably talked too long on this, yes, I do think there are other beings out there. There's life out in the universe somewhere. Are there UFOs that are on this planet? I have not seen any evidence of that yet. I mean, if you can bring solid, verifiable evidence, that science can look at and say, okay, yeah, shit, we got aliens, then I'm on board. But until then, no, I don't think they're here. Although there's some people that act like there are aliens. Lou. Alright, the next question is from Dave Francis. What's up, Dave? And his question is, what would be the ideal setup and procedure for conducting EVP testing? This is a doozy. I started thinking about this a few days ago, trying to come up with the ideal setup, and it actually got me thinking about something else. EVP is everybody knows this, and you hear it on pretty much every ghost hunting show. EVP stands for Electronic Voice Phenomenon. It's the voices of spirits that we capture on tape or digital recorders, and we can only hear them on playback. Well, if that's true, if that's the way it works, then basically a ghosts talk and their voices come through the microphone, has to come through a microphone, and goes onto the digital recorder or the audio tape. Why aren't we hearing this all the fucking time? Seriously. Because there's open mics everywhere. You have TV and news programs. You have radio programs. You have live events. You have karaoke night down at the local bar. You have political debates and referees of sporting events, concerts. Jeff Dunham does his shows live. I love Jeff Dunham. I love the puppets. It's awesome thing. Anyway, all of these things and tons more. I mean, I do like Comic Cons, and I host costume contests, cosplay contests, and I have an open microphone. All these opportunities. If there were ghosts all around, why aren't we hearing them all the time? Why aren't we hearing strange voices coming through? When you ask the crowd, like the audience, a question, why isn't there a ghostly voice that comes over the microphone and says, I am a ghost? Why? I don't get it. But, you know what? That's just me. Let's move on to your actual question. So the ideal setup for EVP testing. First thing I would do would be to build a Faraday cage within a soundproof room. so that way we eliminate outside noises from like hallways and upstairs and downstairs and outside windows and stuff like that are, at pretty much every location that ghost hunters conduct these EVP sessions. Being in a Faraday cage will help cut down on radio frequencies. So if you're using equipment that's not shielded, that could possibly pick up two-way radios, which a lot of teams use, CB radios from trucks driving by, and anything else, cell phone interference, air traffic control towers. I'm not an expert on this. I don't know if it's actually possible, if it's legitimately possible for air traffic control to come through an unshielded recording device. That's something I would like to look up later when I have more time. But let's be safe. Let's just block every radio frequency we can and just concentrate on what's in the room. Another thing I would have to do is that the microphone would have to be in a suspension mount, like what you see here. This is not. There's the physical contact is through bungee cords, so that it absorbs some of the vibration, which is great because some of the vibration, when you take a digital recorder, I have one here, and you put it on a table like that, if you kick the floor, you're walking around, it's causing vibrations. If the desk is not level, if the floor is bad and old and it bounces because it's not totally secure, you have some small vibrations come through. It can create a noise. I hope I'm doing it right. That sounds kind of like this. And then you can mistake them for voices. I mean, how easy is it to mistake a no or a yes or a maybe when it sounds like a whisper? All right, where am I? I lost my notes. Okay, if a human has to be present in the room, then they have to be mic'd. Absolutely have to be mic'd, so that you can tell if they're talking, if they're whispering. Because there's plenty of times I've been on investigations where the rule has been declared, hey, no whispering. Nobody whispers. One person talks, that's it. And people still whisper because they think the recorder can't hear them. They think the recorder that's on the other side of the room, about 10 feet away, can't hear them. So they lean over and go, hey, I'm bored, I'm hungry. And you hear from the recorder. It happens a lot. Is it responsible for all EVPs? No, that's not what I'm saying. It's just a precaution. I want to know if that person is actually talking or not. What else do I got? I would search. The human that's not only are they mic'd, but they have to stand away from the main microphone, about 10 feet away. I don't want them close by, just in case they shuffle, they shift their weight from side to side, their shoes creak when they do shift weight, or maybe they're wearing corduroys. Maybe they're a corduroy person, and you get that. I hate that noise. But that from close up, when you're expecting to hear a voice, it could be mistaken as a ghostly voice. The person has to be searched, and yeah, this may seem like I'm trying to prevent them from creating a hoax. Yes. It's just standard procedure. It's nothing personal, but I would search them to make sure they didn't have any recording devices or any noise-making devices or anything on them that would cause a weird noise. Any kind of noise. Cameras will be on them the entire time. Not just one, at least 3. So you can get all angles. So you can see in front of them, behind them, on top of them. If they have their hand behind their back, you want to be able to see what they're doing back there. Maybe not. Anyway, yeah, you want to see what's behind them. But I would also, let's see. Oh, speaking of hands, I would actually have some kind of handle where they have to put their hands so I can see them at all times. This is just another precaution because I don't want them scratching, doing this, or making a noise. Again, with the corduroy, or if they're wearing a jacket. Some jackets make weird noises. You hit the zipper, whatever. Yeah, this may be overkill for somebody, but these are the precautions you have to to take, because I've seen these variables come into play and get mistaken as a ghostly voice. Oh, microphone on the stomach too, because we've all been there. You know, you've been there where it's been like midnight, almost 1 o'clock in the morning. Someone's hungry and their stomach starts growling. You gotta pick it up. You gotta make sure you know what you're listening to. All right. Recording. Let's see. Questions that will be asked, because usually EVPs sessions, they ask questions. So I would say questions will be tailored for specific answers. No yes or no questions, and they have to be like for specific names and for specific years or dates. They have to be, because if you just leave them open for any kind of answer, you can interpret it any way you want. From whispers to shuffling feet to anything, you can pretty much make a word out of anything, because you're listening for it. You're expecting an answer. So you get that pareidolia coming in, and you create your own answers. Let's see. I would also consult linguistics experts, and I've talked about this with a few people already. I would consult someone in oh my god, I can't say that word. Linguistics, to see what kind of words sound like each other. What kind of words are so similar or have the same parts where you could easily mistake them. And then I would also consult that person. I'm not saying that word again. After the recordings are made, I would turn the recordings over to that person and let them tell me if there's actually any spoken words in response to the questions. I think that about sums it up. So far, I mean, I'm sure if I actually set up the test and consulted other people for this, we would come up with more controls, and that's the whole idea. You need to control the environment. I keep saying every time you set up an experiment, you need to do it in a controlled environment, and that's just what science dictates. Not me, that's what science does. And you need to control all the known variables. So when you're conducting an EVP session in a old house that's on the main street, and you can hear people outside through the window, that's not a controlled environment, because you have these noises coming in. You don't know what you're going to pick up. So I hope that answered your question. Next. All right, the next question comes from Roger Cox. In relation to Courtney, because she's hot. His question is Steve Huff a fraud, or is everyone who uses a spirit box, in your eyes, a fraud too? Good question. First of all, disclaimer. In my opinion, Huff pretty much is a total douchebag. I don't like him. I think he's on the same level as Roundtree. The only difference is that I think Huff covers his bullshit better than Roundtree does. So, with that said, let me read off the definition of fraud, just so we're on the same page. Let's see, fraud. Number 1, wrongful or criminal deception intended to result in financial or personal gain. Ding. Number 2, a person or thing intended to deceive others, typically by unjustifiably claiming or being credited with accomplishments or qualities. Ding. So yeah, I think he fits both of these definitions, and yes, as far as I'm concerned, he's a fraud. I think he's well aware that his devices are bullshit and they don't work, but he sells them anyway. His Wonder Box sells for $1,500, and he claims that it takes him 10 to 12 days to build just one, and he only makes $100 off of it, because all the other parts and stuff, that cost $1,400 about. So he's only making $10 a day or less, depending if it takes him 10 or 12 days to make, for one. That just seems like really bad business. I mean, that's really bad business, or he's a snake oil salesman, which that's what I'm going to go with. Now, the second part of your question, what was it? Let me see. Is everyone else who uses a spirit box, in your eyes, a fraud too? Absolutely not. No, I don't think so. And I think it comes down to belief. Belief is a very powerful thing, and humans are quick to believe stuff. We really are. Critical thinking is a learned skill, but belief is it's like our default. We tend to believe things at face value just because somebody tells us this is the way it is, or we want to believe. I mean, when you start doing a hobby, you want to learn everything. You suck up all the information you can. So you go to books and people that are into it, and websites and TV shows and documentaries, whatever you can, you suck it up. And it's only after a certain amount of time, like a pretty good amount of time, where you start getting like nitpicky, and saying, well, you know what? I kind of made my own decision. I've thought about this a little bit. I don't think what this person is saying is so true. And then you get more and more experience, and you realize, okay, we can shed some of this bullshit and really get to the core of the hobby that I'm doing. The problem with the paranormal is that I think this actually stunts your progression. People get trapped. It's a trap. They get trapped in this, and they don't progress. They fall into this pit of belief where they think these devices, like EMF meters and shit, pick up ghosts. They detect ghosts, and they can talk to them through recorders and shit like that. And they get sucked into it, and it seems so cool, and anybody can do it. You don't need any training. You don't have to really pay for any training. You just have to buy all these expensive devices, which look cool because they have LED lights and they make noise. Ghost boxes are these things where you get this immediate response. It's like text messaging. You send a text and you get a text back and you're like, yay, somebody's talking to me. It's kind of like that with the ghost box, because you ask a question and you hear a voice. And it sounds like an answer because that's what you're expecting. You're expecting an answer to your question. And if you can interpret it that way, then it sounds like a response, and you're good to go. You're gold. Even though it's not. I mean, these ghost boxes are playing radio stations. And I really don't want to get into the technical stuff and how it works. But basically, I don't think the people using them are frauds. I think they believe it works, and therefore they continue to use it. I think that most of these ghost hunters and paranormal people, I think they are misinterpreting what they hear. I think they also make excuses for what they hear, and make excuses in order to supply the opportunity to get more and more excuses. For example, when you ask the same question 5 or 6 times in a row until you get something that satisfies you. If you ask, hey, is anybody here? 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 Somebody's here. That's pretty much what I see. And it's that instant gratification. I think they're filtering what they hear through their expectations, their beliefs, their misconceptions, and what they want to happen. They're on a ghost hunt. They're trying to talk to ghosts with a device they think picks up a ghost. So that's what they want. Anything they hear, it's a ghost. But make no mistake, there are frauds out there, Steve Huff, and they're going to exploit the shit out of you. They're going to complain about the haters. They're going to play the victim. They're going to try to sell you worthless pieces of shit. Gadgets with lights and, neon lights or LEDs, and fucking make noises and shit like that. But they're not going to have a shred of credible evidence to support the claims they are making. And that's what you have to look at. This Wonder Box thing, lots of claims, absolutely no valid evidence to support his claims. But he's selling it for $1,500 fucking dollars. Don't buy his shit. Don't. Go buy a bunch of books by like Ben Radford, Joe Nickel. Read that shit. You'll learn so much more from those books than you will from that piece of shit amplifier that Huff sells. Alright? Michael Singer says he has this itchy rash. Well, Michael, I suggest you consult your dermatologist and then stop touching it. All right, the next question comes from my buddy Mitch Silverstein. What's up, Mitch? You always ask good questions. Okay, here we go. Do you think anyone/group is qualified to do a residential investigation? What are the ethical ramifications? Wow, this is one we've talked about. I've talked about it a lot on like different podcasts and at conventions and stuff. I'm not really sure I'm qualified to give a qualified answer because I don't have qualifications in a lot of areas that I think would be needed in these cases. I don't think the majority of members of paranormal groups have these qualifications either. You know, I do photography, so I think I'm qualified to give an opinion on, an educated opinion on photographs and some video, because, I mean, video is basically still photographs running by really fast. So I have expertise in that, so I can comment on that. But there's a lot of things, when you go into a residential, when you go in someone's home, holy shit. You know, these families are looking to, they need advice, because apparently, obviously they're scared, or they don't know what's going on, because they're reaching out to a paranormal group, which means they probably, in my opinion, they've already talked to family, they probably went to maybe a doctor to seek some help and couldn't really figure out what's going on. And then now they're reaching out to a paranormal group, most likely because they saw TV or somebody suggested it. Now this group is coming in with their matching t-shirts and cases, you know, the Pelican cases full of equipment and stuff. They look like an authority, you know, in this. So the homeowners are going to look at them and say, well, you know, what is going on? You tell me. And they're going to hang on their every word. They're going to look at them and say, you know what, whatever you tell us, we're going to believe. That's the mentality that I have seen, that I have observed when I've attended some of these residential ghost investigations. And it's scary. It really is scary to me. Because they're going to pretty much take anything the ghost hunters say as law. And man, that gives me shivers. Ethics, I mean, I think it's morally wrong to give advice on topics that you don't know about. So if you have a team and you don't have like a psychologist, or a medical doctor, or a photographer, or anything, you know, these different levels of expertise on that team that are qualified to give advice like this, you're going into a person's house and telling the family. I mean, some of these teams ask for medication. I don't know if we're supposed to do that. I don't know if we're allowed to do that. I mean, yeah, you need all the information you can get. I agree with that. But they're going to start looking at side effects and start blaming the side effects. What if you start saying, hey, you know, this medication is causing this? You know, maybe you should stop, or, you know, weed off it a little bit. That's not, you know, unless you're the doctor, you should not be giving that kind of information. I don't know if that's what's going on, but I'm just saying that's a hypothetical situation I could see happening. When you give explanations based on beliefs rather than facts or established knowledge, like telling people, well, you know, I have an EMF meter here, and it's telling me that there's 40 milligauss. I don't know, there's a source. I don't know where a source is for this, so it must be a ghost. You don't fucking know that. So you're pretty much making up this conclusion. And now you're scaring the family because they think there's a ghost in the house, because you misinterpreted the results of the meter that you don't know how to read. I think that's wrong, because now you're causing a lot of stress. I mean, and you asked about the ramifications of this. I mean, we have loss of sleep and anxiety, paranoia, social retreat, because they don't want to talk to family and friends, because the family and friends probably don't believe them or shun them because now they're talking crazy, you know, the crazy member, the black sheep of the family. Other ramifications, paying con artists to come in and cleanse the house or smudge the house. Sorry, people, It don't fucking work. It's all based on belief. It's a placebo effect at best, but it doesn't work. And you're charging. So what's the harm with that? You're charging money for a service you can't do. What else? Exorcising demons. Oh my God! How many fucking groups claim to be able to exorcise demons? We're going to do an exorcism, on the house, and we're going to banish the demons. Fuck you! No, you're not. You don't know how to do that because they don't exist. Therapy. I mean, there people go into therapy from this because you reinforce the beliefs so much that you could fuck someone's head up. You really could. I've known people to leave their houses, to leave their homes because of what ghost hunters told them. And that's unacceptable. I'm against residential ghost hunts. It's just, there's too much responsibility involved. And I really think that ghost hunting teams, if they agree to go in there, should be held accountable for their actions. If they make determinations based on bullshit evidence and scare the shit out of family and cause that family all kinds of anxiety and sleepless nights and loss of work, or something like that, then they should be held accountable for it. I really do. So basically, do I think any group is qualified to do residential investigation? Maybe scientific groups. I think that would be better because they would be more equipped to deal with the known variables. Your amateur ghost hunting groups that form because they watch a lot of TV, no, absolutely not. Not qualified. Nope. Probably doing more harm than good. Moving on. Okay, the last two questions we have come from Gaten Ervolino. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. I'm probably not. Drop me a message. Let me know how much I butchered that. I apologize. But he says, I would like to see a video that explains EMF readers a little more in depth. What the machines actually are measuring, why electricians use them, why some people might be made sick by high readings, because for people who get made sick by those high readings, so many of those sensations are attributed to hauntings. Feeling creeped out, nausea, goosebumps, etc. If it's a dumb suggestion, you can ignore it, but I would like to give people more educated answers. Well, Gaten, first of all, it's not a dumb suggestion. Not by a long shot. I mean, because EMF meter is like a standard piece of equipment in ghost hunting toolkits. So it's actually a good topic. Unfortunately, I can't do it all in this episode because that deserves a entire episode itself, and I'm working on that. I've been doing some research on it and trying to build up a good amount of information to make a good video that explains everything you asked for. What do they do? Why do we use them? What professionals use them for? I'm trying to contact. I contacted professionals that actually use them, and I'm waiting to hear back. So hopefully we'll have a future episode that deals with EMF. But I wanted to address part of your question, the part about people being made sick by high readings. And I've discussed this with several people, and there's different views. And when you go looking for what's called electromagnetic hypersensitivity, that's what it's called. When you go looking for it, you can find a bunch of different websites that tell you from one extreme, which is, yes, it causes all kinds of these symptoms, to the other extreme where it says, no, it's not a real thing. So, and actually during some of the conversations, it's brought up, well, we went to like an electrician's website and they told us what it does. And I get that. I get why you would go to an electrician's website. Nothing against electricians, but we're talking about medical conditions. So I would not go to an electrician for that. I would go to a doctor or a medical board type of website to get information for that. And that's what I did. I went to the World Health Organization and I looked up what they have. So, I'm going to read off my notes because there was a lot there, and I want to make sure I get it right. So, according to the World Health Organization, a number of individuals have reported a variety of health problems that they, the individuals, claim are related to EMF exposure. It has become known as electromagnetic hypersensitivity. There it is. I'll get it right. EHS. So EHS is characterized by a variety of non-specific symptoms which afflicted individuals attribute to exposure to EMF. So there's a problem right there, because it's not doctors or medical professionals attributing these conditions to EMF. It's the afflicted individuals. It's the people with these different symptoms that are saying, oh, it's EMF. So right there's a problem. Symptoms include redness, tingling, burning sensations, fatigue, tiredness, concentration difficulties, dizziness, nausea, heart palpitation, and digestive disturbances. The collection of symptoms is not part of any recognized syndrome. When you look at the list of shit, you can get a rash and have redness, tingling, burning sensations, fatigue, tiredness, concentration difficulties. I get that every fucking day. Fucking tired, can't concentrate because I'm tired. Ghost hunts. You know, when you're up late, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, and you're up looking for ghosts in the dark, you get tired. People stay up late. They watch movies, horror movies, and they stay up late, or they stay up late just reading a book, or doing too much, multitasking. That's all people do anymore, in my world. Everybody's multitasking. So everyone's always tired. Dizziness could be something you eat. Nausea could be something you ate. Heart palpitation, see a doctor. Digestive disturbances, what did you eat? How many? We talked about that earlier in the episode. The stomach growling. Stop eating junk food. Let's see. A survey of occupational medical centers estimated the prevalence of EHS to be a few individuals per million. A survey of self-help groups yielded a much higher estimate. Go figure. But let's see. More from the World Health Organization. A number of studies have been conducted where EHS people were exposed to EMF similar to what they attribute to causing their symptoms. The purpose? To elicit symptoms under controlled laboratory conditions. Yes, science! The majority of studies indicate the individuals could not detect EMF any better than non-EHS people. Well-controlled and conducted double-blind studies have shown that symptoms were not correlated with EMF exposure. I'm going to read that again. Well-controlled and conducted double-blind studies have shown that symptoms were not correlated with EMF exposure. There's a good study. Let's see. Got my other notes because I write everything down. If you look up the idiopathic environmental intolerance attributed to electromagnetic fields, formerly electromagnetic hypersensitivity, an updated systematic review of provocation studies. That's the title of the study. It's by James Rubin, Rosa Nieto Hernandez, and Simon Wesley. It's first published August 13th, 2009. If you look it up, I believe they collected 46 studies on this EHS and looked at them all, and they also found there was no correlation. It doesn't exist, according to what this research says. There are some indications that the symptoms, again, this is from the World Health Organization, this is not me, There are some indications that the symptoms may be due to pre-existing psychiatric conditions as well as some stress reactions. So, are they getting sick from high EMFs? It doesn't appear so. Are the symptoms such as feeling creeped out, nausea, goosebumps due to a haunting? No, I don't think so. I know this is going to be debated and people are going to disagree with me, but I'm going from medical institutions. I'm looking at World Health Organization. They draw from everyone. And I'm going to listen to them more than I'm going to listen to any ghost hunters out there, because they have the data, they have the studies to back up their claims. Nobody else does. You know, if you think it's high EMF that's causing a problem, there could be another variable involved that you're not aware of. If you move somebody to a different part of the house or the room because you want to get them away from the high EMF, what else did you move them away from? You don't know. You know, because it's not a controlled experiment. You just moved them. You didn't take into account any other variables. So I don't think people are getting sick from high EMF. There you go. And again, I'm going to try to do a full episode just on EMF and really get into the nitty gritty. All right. So let's go. Next question. All right. Last question is from Gayton. The last question of the episode. Woohoo! We're almost there. He says, along the same lines, digital recorders. There have been many times where I've been in buildings alone, asking questions, and there will be another voice on the recorder answering. Assuming it's not just another person from the team, what could cause that? I mean, like times when I will ask if it remembers my name from when I said it, and will record the response, Gayton. Again, like before, if it's a dumb question, ignore it. Gayton, there are no dumb questions. Just dumb people. No, you're not dumb. All right, so, wow. This is a very complex answer. It's a complex question, and I have a complex answer, and I wrote an entire page of notes just for you. So, bear with... Oh, wait. I even have... Oh, look, you have half another page, too. Or even more half. Whew! So I'm going to try and get through this pretty quick. Just so people aren't bored watching this. Alright, so if we assume that it's not another team member, we are already fooling ourselves, honestly, because the way you phrase your question, I don't know if you meant to do this, but you start out saying that you're in the building alone, and then you get an answer on the recorder, and then assuming it's not just another person from the team. So now we have this unknown variable. We don't know where your team members are. You know, are you in there alone or are you not? And if we start assuming, if we make assumptions for these unknown variables, then we're corrupting our own data. So you really have to know whether you're in there by yourself or not. And then now we explode into a whole bunch of other variables. I kind of addressed some of this before with the question about the ideal EVP experiment. Excuse me. But let's see. If we take out like another team member, if we take that variable that you mentioned, that if it's not another team member, we take that out of the equation, okay? And we have to look at the environment that you're in. You're doing an EVP session, you're recording. What type of building is it? Are there open windows? Are there open doorways? Are there noises coming in from the street? Is it a busy street? Is there traffic on the street? What else? I have a lot of notes. Is there wind, traffic, neighbors, walkers, joggers, TV, radios that can be heard from a neighbor's house? Are there dogs or other pets or other animals? Are you holding the recorder, and is there friction from you holding it and moving your fingers across the recorder, the body? Because, like, for instance, this one, the microphone's right there, and if I'm doing this, it's going to pick that up, and it's going to sound weird. So, let's see, what else we have? So far, I've yet to observe any EVP session conducted within a soundproof room. I know that's extreme. I know that's something like most ghost hunters or most people will come to me and be like, well, you can't do that. You can't have a soundproof room in a haunted location. I understand that, but unfortunately, that's really what you need. My point is that voices from people and sounds from animals and vehicles and machines and everyday life, like people taking out the garbage, are all around us all the time. And they will find their way into that room and onto your recorder. They just will. I keep saying a lot. I really got to work on that. So what else do we have? Members and staff members. Your team members, staff members of like the location you're at, the owners, family, whatever, can be walking around upstairs, downstairs, outside. If people are taking a smoke break and they're talking and laughing and joking and talking about results and the data they're collecting or the evidence that they're getting. Many groups promote the rule about no whispering, and I touched on this earlier. But even though they tell them no whispering, they still do it. Lots of people whisper. Some people yell from outside. But whispering is a big problem. People also unconsciously talk to themselves. I know I do it. I wander through a building, and if I'm on my own, I will say something out loud like, this meter is stupid. Or this meter ain't getting nothing. Why am I not getting anything? This and that. And I'll have a little conversation with myself. Sometimes I answer myself. I don't know why. But I do it anyway. And I've also observed other people doing this. So you can have someone that doesn't realize they're talking. Or doesn't realize they're telling themselves they're stupid because they did something stupid and they realize it. And you can pick up their voice on the recorder. The clothing shifts. And makes noises. If you're wearing a jacket, like a rainproof jacket or a heavy winter jacket, you're wearing corduroy pants, you're wearing jeans, boots, old boots that creak or make noise. Clothing like this can make noises as people move around. And they don't have to be walking or running. You could be sitting in a room and just shifting your weight. Because when you sit there, like on the floor or even a chair for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, you're not going to sit perfectly still. You're going to adjust, shift your weight, get comfortable again because, your butt gets numb. Stuff like that. Furniture. Oh, furniture makes noises. This thing creaks. If I go across the floor, you probably can hear this. But you know what? You can hear it. I can hear it. But my wife downstairs can also hear it. And she's in the living room. And right below me is the dining room. So she can actually hear from 2 rooms away through a floor. So you have to take that in consideration. If somebody bumps a table or a chair, or picks up a chair and moves it to a different location, you could actually echo that noise through the floorboards and down into a different room. So, same with doors. You close a door, everybody's going to hear it. How often have you been in a place where somebody slams a door and everybody knows? Audio pareidolia. Oh, this is a good one. Pareidolia is a psychological phenomenon involving a stimulus where the mind perceives a familiar pattern of something where none actually exists. I see this so much with photographs, so much with video. And there's a lot to do with audio when it comes to this too. There's a lot of it. Because you hear something that you expect to hear and you're hearing it. Let's see. Ghost hunters are the location they believe to be haunted. They believe in ghosts and demons and etc. They believe it's all real. They believe the gadgets that they are carrying around like this detect or capture ghosts. All of this goes into the expectation. So when you sit down and do an EVP session, be truthful. You're expecting to hear a ghostly voice. And not only that, a voice that responds to your question. So it could be any kind of noise, and you might just misinterpret it to be something that sounds legitimate to you. Next page. Look at this. I'm turning the page. That's how many notes I wrote for you, Gaten. EVPs are not conducted in a controlled environment. We've pretty much covered this. I'm not going to beat this horse because it's already dead and gooey. But but we don't have any accurate documentation most times. This is actually a good point. When you're in a room by yourself and you have a recorder and you record something that you think is an EVP, or even if you're in there with your team, doesn't matter really. If you don't have video documentation of everybody at that time, and it would be great if you had everyone mic'd, but if you don't have that, then you have no documentation that says, yes, I was in that room by myself, or yes, I was in that room with my team and no one spoke. You have no record of that. All we have is your word. And honestly, it's nothing against you, Gayton, or anyone else watching this, or anyone that claims to have an EVP. Your word is pretty much no good as evidence. And it's not saying, you're a douchebag or anything like that, or anybody's, just untrustworthy. It's because people make mistakes. They make mistakes often. We misinterpret events often. We forget details often. So, or we don't see things. We don't notice certain things often. And it's just a human condition. That's just it's what we do. So I can't take somebody's word for it. I need documentation. Then again, there's people that just outright lie and hoax it. When you start questioning what happened, their story falls apart. There could be other people around that you weren't aware of. There could be people right outside the room in the hallway waiting. They could be down the hall a little bit and you weren't aware of it. You just might forget. Time frames get messed up after like 4, 5, 6 hours at a place at night, especially after a long drive or you've been up all day. Details get fuddled. And if you don't have an accurate record, there could have been 6 people outside the room, and then 20 minutes later they left, but you think that you got the EVP after they left when you actually got it when they were there. These are just general examples that I'm giving, so take it as like that. So another point is it actually a voice? We hear so much about groups classifying their EVPs. They have classifications: A, B, C. I think there's a D, and some people have an E and F. I don't. It's all bullshit, honestly, because the classifications have no standard. They are based on the perception and determination of the individual or the group. So there is no standard across the board. Everyone has their own idea of what a Class A is. I've had people send me EVPs and tell me it's a Class A, it's clear, this and that, and I don't hear shit. So the classification is, well, besides being not standard and completely useless to me, is it really a voice? It could be a noise. It could be a shuffle. It could be this and that. I would send it to, again, there's that word that I'm going to be horrible at, linguistics expert, and ask them, is this a word? Is this a spoken word? Can you figure this out and tell me what you hear? Because they might tell you, no, it's not. And then your Class A EVP is out the window. And the last thing I'm going to touch on with this is called priming. Priming is basically, it's when you're watching these ghost hunting shows and they're going to tell you, oh, we call it an EVP, we're going to play it for you. And as they play it, they put the words up on screen, what they want you to hear. Because that's actually what it comes down to. They want you to hear that because that's what they think it says. And once you read that, you might not hear it the first time, but the second time you will definitely hear what they wrote on the screen, because now you're primed. You're thinking, okay, I read, I am Samantha, and that's what you're going to hear. Even if it doesn't actually say that, that's what you're going to hear. So I usually try to, if somebody's sending me like a video clip of these or an audio clip, I don't look at the words. I don't look at that because I want to hear it for myself. And I got to tell you, I would even venture to say 100% of the time I have not heard what they say it says. Is that right? Say it says. Yeah. Yeah. I haven't heard what they claim it's supposed to say. That doesn't mean, much. I'm not the expert on audio. So, but I'm just giving you my opinion again. there's so much involved. To sum this up, there is so much involved. There are so many variables involved with recording EVPs that I think for the most part, ghost hunters don't think about it. They don't think about how much it really is involved, how much they really have to do to weed out all the false positives. Just like with photography and video and all the other so-called evidence that they get. They don't understand how much really is involved with weeding out the bullshit. So I hope that answered your question, because I'm out of notes. All right, that's about it for this episode. I am beat. That was a lot of thinking. That was a lot of notes that I went over. I hope it's not a terrible episode, because I know at the end here, I've been like, my voice has been drying up, and I'm like, trying to get it all out. I'm trying to do the best I can for you guys. So hopefully it translates onto the video and you enjoy it. I hope I answered all your questions to your satisfaction. If not, please send follow-up. I don't mind going over it again, or if you want to talk off video, just the two of us. Just the two of us. We can make it. That was horrible. Send me a message if you want, and we can talk more. If anybody else has any questions, feel free to post them or send me a message on my Facebook page. I am Kenny Biddle. And let's see. Thanks to everybody that submitted a question. I appreciate it. It was fun looking up some of the stuff, learning some more. If you have any comments, post them on the Facebook page. Make sure you like the Facebook page. Also subscribe to my YouTube channel, which this video is playing on. If you have any complaints, feel free to send them to Luke Still in California. He is in charge of my complaint department, and if he doesn't like you, he will throw a burrito at you, and then you will owe him a taco. And that's about it. I got some things coming up, some conferences and stuff, but I haven't finalized any dates yet. I'm getting all tongue-tied. So I'll let you know on the Facebook page. So keep checking back. And until then, never stop learning. I'm out of here.